what if you were at a play party and you had some good fun times, and then after the party's over, maybe a couple days later, someone reaches out, maybe you played with them some or just made out, and they say, hey, just need to let you know I got my test results back and I tested positive. I am Kathy Bertoli from the Intimacy Dojo.
And I'm Reed Mihalko from readaboutssex.com. And this has actually happened to me from a play party where I had a wonderful time, just a delightful time. And then I knew about that this person had gotten tested but hadn't gotten their test results back because we had our Safer Sex conversation. If you're interested in Safer Sex conversations, you can go to readaboutssex.com/elevator to check out the Safer Sex elevator speech. So we had our elevator speech. They had gotten tested but hadn't gotten their results back. I decided everything was on the up and up and felt good about where our needs and boundaries were. We played, and then they followed through and called me up a few days later, letting me know that they had tested positive for gonorrhea of the throat. And I had received some fellatio from this wonderful human. So it was like, ooh, I've been exposed possibly to gonorrhea of the throat, and I need to go get tested or treated and take care of myself. And then I also had to let everybody else know that I played with after that person that they might also have been exposed to it, and what we needed to do next. So what I was really happy about was that the person let me know as soon as they found out what had happened and what their test results were. So that was really great for me, because then I was more empowered to take care of what I needed to do next, which also included informing other people that I might have exposed them to the STI or something like that. So in my world, for some people, they're like, oh my God, that's so much. And I'm like, no, like, this is a good thing. People telling you what's happening is part of what allows you to be empowered to take the next best steps.
And the treatment was actually relatively easy once you knew you had to have it, correct?
Yeah. Well, so this is where it gets a little nerdy in how I made my choices. I could have gone and gotten tested. So you wait 2 weeks because that's the incubation period for gonorrhea. Then you get tested to see if I was positive for it. And if I was positive for it, then I would get treated. What I decided to do was just go ahead and
do the treatment
and get treated. And certain different doctors and clinicians have different opinions about this. But the reason I decided to get treated was I just pretended like I had it. Why I did that was it was more powerful for me to tell the people that I played with, hey, let's assume I have it, and let's assume you got it from me.
Rather than you waiting 2 weeks and then them going out and potentially other people.
Yeah, because in that 2 week period, they might be playing with other people, and if they had been exposed to, but it also the gonorrhea was transmitted to them, they could be passing it on. So I was taking more of a, not like a quarantine, but what's the most powerful choice for me to encourage everybody else such that if anyone did get gonorrhea, we minimize the potential for it spreading. And so, again, like, this is the nerdy stuff. Like, there's a couple of different choices that would have also been powerful, but that was the choice I made. And this is where it's important for me to just tell everybody, like, go do your research and talk to your healthcare providers, or go to a free clinic, or go to Planned Parenthood and ask them their opinions, and educate yourself so that this makes more sense to how you're going to make choices. When we don't educate ourselves, and especially when there's so much stigma and shame and fear, a lot of people aren't thinking straight. So I think it's easier to do the tough, scary work of learning about this stuff when you haven't tested positive for anything.
You're not immediately faced with it all.
Yeah, because then the stakes are lower, and the fear response and anxiety is usually, on a good day, less. And then that way it helps you learn and figure out, like, oh, so what are my choices and options here? And then the nice part is you become the one who knows a lot, and you can help your friends get over their fears and learn about STIs and how to have safer sex. for themselves and make better sexual health choices. This is why I'm so adamant about talking about this stuff so openly, is because when we don't talk about it openly, all you have is the stigma and the shame that you were raised with.
Yeah. And I know it was a false positive, but someone I had played with, I was told that they were positive for syphilis. And I know when they told me, there was like, oh, thank you so much for telling me, but like, like there was a lot, like people have a lot of emotion around it. And part of it is we haven't, like we feel like the feelings we have, the intensity we have, the shock and uncertainty, a lot of us take that to mean there's something bad or wrong. And we also take it that it's always going to feel that intense. And so one of the things I had to do, like, it's okay, let's just breathe for a few minutes. Let's just like, okay, there's fear coming up because you've never experienced this before. It's new. That doesn't mean there's necessarily any, like, horrible thing happening. Just take a couple deep breaths. And I called a friend, I talked to them, I watch this kind of a video where people are like, hey, it's going to be okay. I did some research, found out what I needed to do. I went into my doctor and she was like, oh, we'll test you, but here, I'm going to give you a shot right now. And that just like, she just said, like, rather than waiting, let's just give you the shot while you're here. And whether you have syphilis or not, you're fine. Like, this will take care of it.
And then where this gets a little bit, just for me to do my due diligence and just mention, like, for people who have compromised immune systems, things like Crohn's disease and Lyme's disease are other examples of things that can make STIs a little bit trickier, or just getting treated. Like vulva owners who get really horrible yeast infections whenever they do a course of antibiotics, like that. Like, I don't want to be so cavalier that, like, hey, just go get treated and everything's fine. Like, it's depending on the person and the situation, like, it might be a little more complicated. And I want to be thoughtful and have empathy for everybody depending on what your situation is. And I'm also want to role modeling for people to be mindful of you just telling somebody, hey, it's not a big deal. For them, it might be a big fucking deal. And to just be kind to people who have a lot of thoughts and feelings about this stuff. And then how can we have empathy and be present with people, and then also encourage them, like, hey, here are the resources, here are the things that I've learned, like, what questions do you have, and how can I support you in a way that also works for me. Like, it's not my job to be your therapist around my positive test result, but like, how can I help us all win and make better choices around sexual health? And again, like, just talking about this stuff, just you watching these videos,
you've already made a great step.
Is part of how we make the world a better place. So I just want to acknowledge everybody. We talk about this stuff all the time because we're nerds. And just because we're like, gonorrhea, chlamydia, like, you're not... I
still blush sometimes. Like, there's a lot of social conditioning there.
Yeah, like, we're all still human. And it's about taking baby steps and supporting and encouraging each other to make healthier choices. And good luck.
Yeah.